Okay, hi guys. In this video, let's talk about Sam Bankman-Fried, or as some people like to call him now, Scam Bankrupt Fraud, and what that taught me about Silicon Valley. So, for those of you that don't know, Sam is famous for creating FTX, which was a crypto trading exchange that was huge in 2021. I remember seeing ads on TV of famous mainstream celebrities like Tom Brady, Steph Curry, Sia, promoting that their fans, like these average everyday people, get on FTX and start trading crypto. But this is old news at this point. FTX collapsed in November 2022, and it was partly because there was this propped up token, the FTT token, that Sam and his friends held a majority of. But there was also a second company called Alameda Research that Sam owned that was supposed to be separate from FTX, just doing trading research. But in reality, FTX and Alameda were intermingling almost all of their funds. It was a huge mess. And, Sam went to jail for fraud, and he was worth $26 billion at one point and was the richest person under 30, but now he's worth zero, so yeah. Anyway, I'm going to talk about the time that I almost met him, and I got almost 10 feet away from him in person. So, in 2021, the peak year of FTX, and you can check it out in my photo a day video, I was a master's student at Stanford, and you can see the Stanford apartment room in the background. This is the Stanford Schwab Residential Center. And I was, signed up for email lists at Stanford because that's just sort of how it goes if you're a student. And one day in early October, I got this random email. Fireside chat with the founder of FTX, Sam Bankman-Fried, Saturday at 3 p.m. at the Terman Fountain. And by the way, the Terman Fountain is that infamous one where I filmed that video where I claimed Stanford was waterboarding students. Okay, it was a joke. Obviously, Stanford is not waterboarding students. I was just shit posting as I always am. But this is important just to show you kind of the physical location of everything. So here's me and my friend Cynthia, and we're just standing in the fountain to play with the water. But see, it's a very calm, very rural, festive location, and Sam's talk happened in these sand pits over there. This is definitely clickbait back when I was in my clickbaiting era. And then, this was 2018, so way before Sam was even famous. Anyway, so I get this email that's where I have to go October 2nd at 3 p.m. And let me just read what the article says. So, Stanford Effective Altruism, fireside chat, just like FDR. So they're branding as if you are FDR. With Sam Bankman-Fried, founder and CEO of FTX, world's richest person under 30, has committed billions, vast majority of his fortune, to tackling the most pressing problems facing the future of humanity. So it's a very kind of highfalutin, let's save the world kind of talk. Yeah, 3 to 4 p.m., blah, blah, blah. He's the founder and CEO, wait, can you see this? CEO FTX, the third largest cryptocurrency spot exchange by volume, behind Binance and Coinbase. That's high praise. He's also the world's richest person. Yeah, well, you heard of that. Under 30, has committed billions of dollars, the vast majority of his fortune, to tackling the most pressing problems of the future of humanity. So the same thing. This event will give you the chance to ask Sam anything. What are his thoughts on the future of crypto? What does he plan on doing with his money? How does he end up deciding to trade cryptocurrency for a living? What's his advice to students who want to make a large impact on the world? Well, I feel in this day and age, we might not want that kind of advice. But anyway, I went, and let me show you some of the footage I took just to prove that it happened. Why are there okay. So, I showed up just because I was curious. I actually thought, I'd never heard of this guy before, and I went on Forbes to verify, oh yeah, he is the richest person under 30, because he was 29 at that point, I think. And, I think being worth 26 billion was enough to put you on the list. So this was, the same sandy plains, and there he is right here. And I was sitting near the back because this venue was filled up. There was hundreds of people in the front few rows, and you see people were standing up. And what I remember is, can you hear this? Let me see if I can. You actually can't hear anything. Okay, that's pretty bad audio quality, so I'm not going to subject you to that.
One day, I think some guy, I don't remember who, gave one free Bitcoin to every MIT student around then. I think it was I don't know, how much it was, $5 at the time or something.
So what I want to point out about this video is I remember seeing his leg like jiggle up and down a lot, and that's something that I do myself too when would have too much energy and I can't sit still. So I think that like during this like golden era of SBF, he was definitely portrayed as like a kind of somewhat sloppy guy who doesn't care too much about like tradition, and he plays League of Legends during his calls with investors, and he shakes his leg up and down just like you and me. I'm not saying that this is like a calculated like thing. This is definitely like a natural thing that his body just did, so that's fine. But yeah, here's me recording kind of everyone at the event, and it's a public event, so I feel like it's okay to share this footage with you. And okay, here's the thing: at the beginning, the first half, I was curious, and when the whole talk was over, there was sort of a line forming to like ask him questions, or more like a kind of circle, and I wanted to like just at least talk to him, because at the time no one knew that he was committing fraud, and I thought like, oh, it would just be good to like have it in my like, I don't know, bucket list that I got to talk to the richest person in their 20s or something. So there's these photos, and I think around here I was probably within 10 feet of him. But I eventually left, and the reason I left is not so much about Sam himself, but it was more that like as I was getting closer and closer to the front of the line, I was sort of hearing these people talk to Sam, and I was getting flashbacks to VidCon 2018 or 2019, which was, I was going to a panel, or like I was attending a panel with Michael Reeves, and he's on stage, and like I'm like way in the back. And what happens at the end of these events is that like all these people who are kind of like, how else to say, like kind of hoping to be famous, sort of like wannabes, will all like rush to the front of the stage to talk to the famous YouTuber and like try to get an autograph or get advice or get like tips on how to grow, and like try to quickly like fit in as many like questions as possible to get info. And in a way, it kind of feels like they're kind of like kowtowing to like Michael Reeves, I need your advice, please, like sign my like sweatshirt and I'll make a YouTube video about it. And it kind of feels a little demeaning to be the person to have to like bow down like that. And I guess I just felt like a lot of the people who were asking questions in front of me were very, very praising of Sam's work. They're like, oh, I've been following your journey for so long. You're an effective altruist. You're going to save the world. And I want to know how to follow in your footsteps. And it kind of got to the point where I was just like, I'm not going to wait like 10, 20, 30 minutes to just go on like a praising spree of this person I barely know, if that's what it takes to like talk to him. And I know like that people say this because it's their one chance in a lifetime to like say something. Like they'll probably never get a chance to talk to him again, so they want to leave a good first impression. But I just felt like this is getting like a little sickening. Like a vulgar way of describing it is like it's like dick riding or meat riding. Like I'm not gonna meat ride Sam just because everyone else is. So I took some pizza. I don't know why I have a photo of me taking the pizza. And then I left to Lake Lagunitas. Then I joined the aerospace or like flight community or club. So they were flying these like planes that were like maybe 2 or 3 feet across with these like remotes. And that was, I thought, a lot cooler because none of these people are striving to be famous or rich. They just want to learn about like aerospace engineering. And see that there's one that landed on the ground. Okay, so yeah, that all happened. And here's the thing. This was October 2021, a year before FTX's collapse. And just in case you doubted me, I mean, I don't know why you would. Because like, yeah, anyway, if you go to the actual photo a day video, you can see Stanford for my master's. Let's go to October 2nd. And I want to point out, I uploaded this September 2022, which was about 1 month before Sam's downfall. So that like this was before anyone could ever claim that they knew that FTX was a fraud. You can see it on my paper of what I did that day. I attended a 1-hour Zoom onboarding session for the Stanford Daily newspaper at 9 a.m. I do remember that. I never actually became a writer for the newspaper. Then went to a talk by crypto billionaire Sam Bankman-Fried. So, if I put this in my video from before Sam's big collapse, like it only could have been because I actually went, right? So I did. And then I also attended a BBQ by the Stanford Space Initiative and Aerial Vehicle Club. Okay, I guess that's what it was called, where we flew planes. So that all did indeed happen. So anyway, here's the thing that I think it taught me about Silicon Valley. So I'm sure many of you know about Elizabeth Holmes, the like fraudster who did Theranos, and she's the one with the really deep voice, right? And her whole shtick was like, let's build these devices that can like prick your finger and you get one drop of blood and then test you for hundreds of diseases or maladies all at once. It's super efficient. You don't have to go in for multiple doctor's appointments. Sounds good in theory. In reality, she was faking a lot of data. She was like telling people that they were getting tested by Theranos machines, but actually shipping it to a different company entirely and making stuff up, which is really bad because people need to know what diseases they actually have. And she, I believe, also she went to trial. I don't know if she's in jail, but anyway, the reason I bring her up is because there do seem to be a lot of similarities between these two people. They're both Forbes 30 under 30. They both dropped out. Or no, Sam did not drop out. But the thing that's different about Elizabeth is that whole controversy blew up in 2015, which was the year I got to Stanford. So from the very beginning of my time at Stanford, people already knew that she was committing fraud. And I only kind of heard of the story of Theranos from the sort of whistleblowing side. Like you heard Tyler Schultz and Erica Chung talking about how important it is to speak truth to power. And if a CEO is saying questionable things, question that. The thing that was different about Sam is that, as I showed you, I spent, a year of Stanford witnessing all of the Stanford community praising this guy, the Stanford Effective Altruism Club. I also took a cryptocurrency class, not because I'm into crypto, but because I think the mathematics behind cryptography are interesting to know, why do these things work? And, here are my grades. They were not the best. Actually, they're not bad, but I'm not going to show you the actual results because it might be proprietary material. Anyway, in this class, you would hear these very well-esteemed academic professors and then role models to look up to also kind of talking somewhat praisingly about Sam. Maybe they aren't talking exactly in detail about how FTX works, but they were sort of just being I don't know, talking about how he is a big player in the crypto space and not really raising suspicion. I guess how I feel is his downfall showed me that no matter how prestigious a community is, they can fall for a guise of fake, ingenuity, this kid genius, and then only once all the news comes out that it actually was fraud do they flip their tune. And it really made me think, does anyone in Silicon Valley really know what they're talking about? If Elizabeth Holmes can convince Bill Clinton, of all people, to join her cause, who is even smart enough to avoid it? And I think the end result was okay, here's the thing. When I heard about what Sam Bankman-Fried had done before the controversy, I couldn't really figure out what FTX was doing that other crypto exchanges couldn't do. So by this I mean, when you think about other young billionaires like Mark Zuckerberg, it's yeah, Facebook isn't a perfect product, but we all know why Facebook blew up, right? There was a time, back in the 2000s where it was quite, useful to be able to reach out to friends, long lost friends you hadn't seen in years. And Facebook was providing a service that no other platform could. Well, maybe MySpace, but that went downhill. Anyway, when I saw FTX, I was what is FTX providing that Binance or Coinbase or any of these other exchanges can't? And I couldn't really put my finger on it, but all the adults in the room, all the people I was supposed to look up to, were just saying well, he's just a genius, you just have to believe us, and you're just kind of an undergrad and you don't really know, so just trust us. I feel when I was younger, I had more of a vibe of trust the experts. I might not know what's going on, but they surely do. And I think what this all shows me is nobody knows what's going on. So maybe there is some smarts in just trusting your own judgment instead of what the higher ups are saying. Because I'm not saying that oh, I knew better or I could see it or predict it before it happened, because I obviously couldn't, but I definitely feel I was wondering what is he actually providing to the world that no one else has, and I was struggling to figure that out. I remember people would always say when describing his story that the way he first made money at the start was taking Bitcoin from American markets and then realizing that it was selling for a lot higher in Japan. So he would take it and sell it on Japanese markets for a slightly higher price than the American market, but slightly lower than Japan, and make money off the profit. And I think that's called arbitrage. And I guess that's clever, but I just don't know if that's really adding value to the world. And I don't know. I guess I just had a lot of doubts at the start that like, if he's the poster boy of crypto, like why can't I figure out like some like single piece of technology that was like just solely good that he did? But yeah, I'm not a genius, and it's not like if you had asked me in 2021, do you think Sam Bankman-Fried will go to jail for what he's doing? Like I would have no idea. Like I barely passed that crypto class, so maybe I shouldn't be one to speak. But I don't know. I think as I get older, like I feel like I'm having more and more cynicism for the world, and more just belief that like tech is not solely going to help humanity. Like I think in the early 2000s, it was easy to think like, wow, tech is allowing all these, people who didn't have a voice to get a voice. Like in the Arab Spring with Facebook, a lot of the campaigning and protesting happened through Facebook groups, and that wouldn't be possible without Facebook. And I think at that time, people were like very optimistic that tech was going to just like empower the disempowered. But I think now it's just like, wow, everyone is just kind of like throwing shit at a wall and seeing what sticks, and some stuff like Sam's did not stick.